The first round of coronavirus relief passed by Congress gave billions to hospitals, and the latest round passed by the House would provide even more. But it has not moved in the Senate. Let's bring in Democratic Senator from Delaware, Sen Coons. Senator, thank you very much for joining us as always. So Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi are wide apart when it comes to what should happen next. The CARES Act doesn't have a chance of passing through the Senate. Can you tell me about any of the discussions that are being had between Democrats and Republicans about what a Senate bill might look like?
Well, Katie, thanks for the question, and thanks for that section on the ways in which doctors and nurses and hospitals are under real economic pressure in this pandemic. I'm hopeful that we can provide another round of support. I literally just completed a conference call with dozens of family practitioners, physicians from up and down the state of Delaware, and later today I'll be talking to the leadership of St. Francis, one of our community hospitals, very similar to St. Joseph's Hospital in New Hampshire you just profiled. My hope is that this next package will include a bipartisan proposal for national service. There is a bipartisan bill in the House. It's also now being looked at seriously in the Senate by a bipartisan group of senators. It would double the number of young Americans able to serve through AmeriCorps, a program of national service that is somewhat based on the national service programs of the Great Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration. It would give an opportunity for some of the millions of Americans who are currently unemployed to engage in service to our country, responding to the pandemic, helping with food pantries and addressing food insecurity, responding to some of the gaps in education or in access to health care that have emerged as a result of this pandemic. That's one of a dozen ideas. Support for state and local governments is very high on the list of Democrats who want to make sure that we plug some of the huge budget holes in state and local governments and provide support to the teachers and paramedics, the police officers, and the 911 call takers who are among the many state and local employees who are at risk of being laid off in the recovery from this pandemic.
Senator, looking ahead, as we get farther into this, we were just talking to Jason Furman, the economist who used to work in the Obama administration, and he was warning that it wouldn't necessarily be a V-shaped recovery. It would look like a V, and then it would just sort of level off. In looking down the line to make sure that there isn't complacency, that it doesn't just level off, is the Senate willing to consider and willing to work with the president and the House on an infrastructure bill? I know Infrastructure Week has become a bit of a joke over the past few years because it always gets pushed to the side for some other controversy. But is infrastructure something that you guys are really considering this time around to help bolster the economy in the aftermath of this crisis?
Well, Katie, let's be clear. When you just said that Infrastructure Week has become a bit of a joke, it's because many of us expected the Trump administration, when he first came into office, to prioritize something that would have strong bipartisan support, that would put millions of Americans to work, and that would help strengthen and modernize our outdated and antiquated infrastructure. I think you'd see strong Democratic support, strong bipartisan support for a robust infrastructure package, but I don't know if it's even on the menu. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Republican who controls the Senate and the Senate floor, has said, let's wait. We don't need to move ahead too quickly on the next package after the HEROES Act came over from the House last week. So I'm not hearing or seeing a lot of urgency on the part of the Senate Republican leadership. My hope is that when we get back into session next Monday, some of that will have changed as Republicans in their home states have heard from businesses, from their communities, from families who are very concerned about what is so far a very slow recovery, as we are in just the beginning stages of some of our states and our economy beginning to reopen.
Delaware Senator Sen Coons, thank you very much for joining us as always.